In the studio is Rob Parsons, our chief foreign editor. Rob, we already heard there from Jean-Yves, the French foreign minister, but what has in general been the international reaction to Hariri's announcement?
Well, the international reaction has been strong, and primarily, as you would expect, from France, which has been leading the way to try and get Lebanese politicians to put a government in position ever since the explosion in August last year in Beirut port that will reflect the interests of the people rather than the sectarian interests of Lebanese politicians. It's not getting very far. We saw Jean-Yves talking there about cynical self-destruction, obstruction of various kinds. France has invested a lot in this. President Macron twice went to Lebanon to try to persuade politicians that this was really a last chance. You've got to do it this time. Otherwise the country is going to fall apart. And he promised, there would be international aid. There are billions that have been pledged by different countries around the world, including France and the United States, which has also been critical over the last 24 hours. But that aid has been made absolutely clear to the Lebanese elite is entirely conditional on them managing to put together a government which is committed to reform. We have seen absolutely nothing in that direction so far. Antony Blinken, the Secretary of State, again calling on the Lebanese to do it. But Saad Hariri himself made absolutely clear this was a last chance as far as he was concerned. He submitted the 24 names to President Aoun, who replied with a separate set of suggestions, which included 1/3 of the cabinet being people who were supportive in one way or another of him, his party, and allied parties. Hariri said that would have made government absolutely impossible and took the action he did.
So, dare I ask, what happens next?
Well, the reaction seems to be fairly swift at the moment because France, the European Union, the United States have been watching very closely how things have been moving. I don't think Hariri's decision was any great surprise to them. The EU has been talking about imposing sanctions and now says it's in a position to impose sanctions by the end of the month, or at least to have the legal framework in position for imposing sanctions on individual politicians in Lebanon on grounds like corruption, financial misdeeds, abuse of human rights, obstructing efforts to form a government. The sort of sanctions would probably include asset freezes, travel bans, that sort of thing, which could be effective. The other thing I've just been referring to is this possibility of a conference in Paris, an aid summit in Paris. But one has to ask oneself, at this stage, what is the point of having another summit on aid for Lebanon when no progress has been made towards the aim of putting together a government?
Indeed. Thanks for that, Rob Parsons.